I want to speak about today is a great Afghanistani rabbi. His name was Rabbi Zvi Siman Tov, one of the great rabbis we've spoken about on various occasions before over here inside this series. And I think it's very appropriate to speak about him today because we obviously did the video of the great Afghanistani, let's say, rabbinic history in of itself, the structure in of itself. So he was born in the year 1934. His full name was Rabbi Zvi Siman Tov. He passed away on the 10th of February in the year 2022, about 3.5 years ago. He became a chief rabbi of the Jewish community of Afghanistan in Eretz Israel. I believe he was a Rosh Yeshiva, he was a Rosh Kollel also in Eretz Israel in of itself, in Israel in of itself. So he was born actually in Afghanistan, came from great heritage. His father's name was Yisachar and his mother's name was Rivka. When he was 5 years of age only, probably around 1939, that was, I think, the second wave of immigration from Afghanistan to Israel really took place in the 1930s. He would make Aliyah to Eretz Israel, and he would learn in the famous Talmud Torah called the Bnei Tzion Talmud Torah. Now, Bnei Tzion, we've spoken about this on various occasions before, was a famous Talmud Torah, which will see many of the great Sephardi rabbis from Eretz Israel, Naim ben Eliyahu, Rav Moshe Tzadka, Rav Shalom Cohen, really the highest caliber, let's just say, of rabbis possible, learn inside that great academy in of itself. So he would learn there, just along with the great rabbis, to get like the greatest pedigree possible to start off his Torah career. I think at that point in time, there was Rabbi Yosef Shurabani and Rabbi Yaakov Bloy were over there, and there was a yeshiva in Makor Chaim, if I'm in neighborhood of Rabbi Aaron Torchin, I believe, and I think the Brisker Rav also was there, the rabbi from Brisk. Afterwards, he would move on to the bastion, let's say, of the Sephardic yeshivot called Yeshiva Porat Yosef. He would learn with various different educators and rabbis over there, especially at the time. I think it was headed by Rabbi Ezra Atiyah, and would learn with the chavruta with great rabbis in of itself, and already at that specific age in of itself, that specific early window, he would get a great pedigree. What he progressed even further, he would attend, I believe, the famous Hebron Yeshiva over there, and he would become very close to the leaders, the head rabbis of the yeshiva, respectively, the Rosh Yeshiva, Harav Aaron Cohen, and Rabbi Cheskel Sarna. These were great rabbis, great thinkers of definitely the last, let's say, few generations here in Eretz Israel. It's very close, obviously, with Rav Ezra Atiyah. So he was sent, I think, from Rav Ezra Atiyah to really go to, I think, to embrace, let's say, now come to, I think, areas in Bnei Brak and to form a yeshiva called Yeshivat or HaTorah. Now, I think this will be done along with Rabbi David Melonovaski, I believe. And this yeshiva would really stand. He would stand at the pinnacle of this yeshiva for many years. He would found it over there, would head it for 30 years, which would produce, reported over many thousands of students even, including future yeshivot heads respectively. And this was like a phenomenal feat. Remember, Bnei Brak in those days wasn't like nowadays, where it's obviously now absolutely booming within regards to everything. It was more in the early years in of itself. And I think many of these Talmidim will also become now modern-day Rosh Kollels, Dayanim, judges, and rabbis of various different congregations all over Eretz Israel. Also, even in the diaspora, many of them will be over there. And he would be doing it. He was the leader also of the, let's say, the Jewish community of Afghanistan, also in Eretz Israel. He would actually blossom at that stage in time, really providing education, a derech, for the very, very rich community in of itself. He was very close with Rab Ovadia Yosef, who was a Rishon LeZion, remember, between the years 1973 to 1983, and really would be in correspondence with him all the time. Also, Rav Yehuda Tzadka, remember, Rav Yehuda Tzadka was close to him. Rav Yehuda Tzadka happened to be the Rosh Yeshiva for Eretz Yosef. I believe he passed away in the year 1991. Would really be in very strong correspondence. Also, many Ashkenazi, Lithuanian rabbis he was very close, including Rabbi Simcha Zissel, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of Hebron, and also Rosh Shalom Shvadron. So he was very, very much close with people from all the different communities in of itself. So it's actually interesting. He will be a head of Beit Midrash over there. Also, I believe this would be, if I'm not mistaken, for 40 years, he would head the Nativ Benyamin Torah Study Center in Yerushalayim. This was another very, very important place in of itself. And I think in Tel Aviv also, he would have many different students. Many of them would go on to become Rabbanim, do huge amounts of Mizakei Rabbim, a lot of great Torah, kiruv work, outreach work, and say all over Eretz Yisrael. In fact, the Beit Knesset, Beit Midrash, or Baruch, for example, and he was very much part of the Irgun Brit, B'nai Torah, V'od, respectively. He would be also a Rosh Kibbutz, Yeshivat Chazon Ovadia. Very interesting. Now we've spoken about Yeshivat Chazon Ovadia on various occasions. In this series, Yeshivat Chazon Ovadia is, let's say, definitely ultra-Orthodox Sephardi yeshiva. I think it's based in Romania. It was actually started, I believe, in the year 1973 through Chacham Ovadia Yosef. I think currently, if I'm not mistaken, Rav Rachamim Yosef is at Rosh Yeshiva there, but there was some great rabbis over there, Rav Aryeh Nagar, Rav Shlomo Levi, and so on and so forth, Rav Betzalel Zolti, and so on. And also one of the head, let's just say, Sephardi Yeshivot at that stage in time, where they learned various different Torah books, including halacha books of Rabbi Yomer and Yakut Yosef, just as an extra side note. So he was also very much involved with that, I believe. And I think, more can be said with regards to him. He was related to many, many great Rabbanim, if I'm not mistaken. Also, most notably, I think he was Rav Yitzchak Ohana. It says over here, Chamiv Hayah Rav Yitzchak Ohana. So that's very interesting. Who was Rav Yitzchak Ohana? He lived between, I believe, just to clarify, he lived between the years 1908 to 1992. He was, let's just say, head rabbi in Kiryat Shmona. He was actually a Moroccan rabbi, I think from Meknes, originally head of Jewish court in Meknes, and would do huge amounts of works all throughout Eretz Yisrael, respectively. And it's actually, so Rav Zvi Siman Tov was a chatan of Rav Ohana. Remember Rav Ohana, I think we've spoken about on various occasions before. He is... he's so great. His son, for example, is Rav Yosef Ochana, another great rabbi who was a head rabbi in various parts of Israel, had many great descendants and came from much great rabbinic auspices in of itself. So that was already a strong connection. He was a son-in-law of Rav Ochana. If he was also a brother-in-law, or he's a brother-in-law of Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Hillel, very interesting enough. So Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Hillel, we've spoken about on various occasions before, one of the great Kabbalists in Israel. He happens to be, he's head of the Chevrat Avat Shalom, has a very, very famous rabbi, not just in Israel in of itself, he's also very famous in the diaspora, known as one of the leading Kabbalists, wrote various different publication works, many, many great students he has in of itself. He's actually Yaakov Moshe Hillel happens to be the grandson of Rav Avram Hillel, who was, I believe, a head rabbi in Iraq. In his son, we actually spoke about Rav Avram Hillel previously and before in this series. So that's very, very interesting, and obviously that's important also to point out. So he was, I believe, the brother-in-law. And I think his son, Rav Yaakov Ezra Siman Tov, is rabbi of Kehilat Noam, the congregation of Noam, Rabbi Yosef Siman Tov. Prominent position in Beit Midrash L'Torah in Netiv Benyamin also. And Rav Zvi Siman Tov, so Rav Zvi Siman Tov, he passed away, I believe, I'm not sure if it was Tet Adar or Yud Adar. I think it was an Adar Aleph in the year 2022 on the 10th of February, I believe. Now, among the great rabbis that would actually give him hesped at that point in time, eulogy included the Rishon LeZion at that point in time, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, the Sephardic chief rabbi, Rav Moshe Tzadka, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Porat Yosef, obviously his brother-in-law Harav Yaakov Moshe Hillel, Rav Shlomo Amar, former chief rabbi of Israel, Rishon LeZion, and Rav Masud ben Shimon would also give him eulogy. Remember, we've spoken about various rabbis from the great Ben Shimon rabbinic dynasty in previous times. He also, I believe, had a prominent positions. He was a Rosh Yeshiva, Rab Ben Shimon of Or Eli Tzur, and one of the famous rabbis of Bnei Brak. So he had a strong connection with Rab Masud Ben Shimon. Obviously, both of them working in Bnei Brak. It's very, very important to point that out. Also, more can be said within regards to him. And we've already spoken about a dozen rabbis at least that were great rabbis that actually came from Afghanistan. Though obviously there's much more. So that's very, very interesting. So he was known as one of the genius Sephardic rabbis of his time. He was from obviously great rabbinic auspices. He was a Talmid of Rav Ezra Atiyah, as we mentioned before, and would found the Yeshivat Or Torah. Let's say that Yeshivat Or Torah apparently reported that was the first Sephardic yeshiva, I believe, in the city of Bnei Brak. Now there's many, many dozens of yeshivot, even possibly more. And he would head it for 30 years, which is absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, had a prominent position in Chazon Obadi Yeshiva, and was giving lessons and classes all over the other places. He also had very close connection with Rab Ben Zion Abba Shimon. Remember, I believe they learned, I'm not sure if they learned at the same time together in Bnei Tzion's Talmud Torah, but all throughout their lives, there was very, very well, let's say, close connection with them. He was, as I said before, the head of the Afghanistani Jewish community in Israel, and also seen as a leader of the Afghanistani Jewish community. He was buried in Yerushalayim. I think the funeral go on to Yeshivat Porat Yosef, it's reported over, and I think he was buried, I think maybe in Sanhedria burial plot, but I'll have to double check on that, in Yerushalayim. So he points out, and please learn more about him. Also, there's a very, very good, let's say, important website out there which represents like the Afghanistani Jews. I think it's called afghanim.co.il, which has a lot of biographies, stories or information within regards to great Afghanistani rabbis of yesteryear. I'll spell it. It's afghanim.co.il. That actually relates it over and just shows the devotion the great rabbi had, and the brilliance he had within regards to learn more about him. Now, friends, we're a community here. We are learning from countries, the North African countries, Asian countries, to explore what was the life like within regards to what was going on over there, what was the rabbinic structure in these very, very important different places over here. And it's always great to speak about countries like Kurdistan, Afghanistan, and so Iran. So maybe it was Jewish world in of itself. So it's always an opportunity time to speak about that. So we spoke about Rabbi Zvi. Please subscribe to the channel. We're nearing a staggering at the moment 7,500 subscribers here on the channel, and so please, if you feel anyone's interested in watching any of these videos, share these videos also to other people, and hopefully other people will also join this great community that we're doing, and and learn much more within regards to it. We're actually recording this at the time period of Aseret Yemei Teshuvah at the moment. And here in Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, obviously the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we are in at the moment. So it's auspicious time, important time, and time. Let's just see blessings for all of Am Yisrael and for everyone over here. Now, on this channel, we don't just record videos of great rabbis of yesteryear. We're exploring the history within regards to other countries from all over the diaspora. Also, what were the famous yeshivot that was about in all these different great countries? What were the famous synagogues we're trying to explore also, and so on and so forth. We're trying to look at, all the important information that underlines, let's just say, all the greatness. Also recorded daily tidbit on a bit of wisdom from the daily page of Daf Yomi, also here on this series. Also, other projects we're working on over here is Parshat Shavua. Yes, so thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Wishing you all well, and Bezrat Hashem, Gemar Chatzim Matzova, and thanks.